Hi everyone, happy last week of our Art of Prish. Let me see. I'm doing things a little differently this time. Um, I have I have gotten 100 of the most famous paintings in the world that everyone should know. It's not in your book, but I also want you guys to I'll have you guys look up some paintings in your book, but you can use any of these in your final that you would like to. I just think it's really important that you see these paintings. I'm doing PowerPoint, so I'm hoping that it's only recording my screen, but you guys have been with me throughout this entire semester trying to figure out recordings. Forgive me. Next time I teach Art of Prish, I'll be more on the ball. Over the summer, I'm going to write my own class for it. So anyway, let's see. So the Primavera by Sandro Botticelli is a beautiful, beautiful painting. This image displays a crowd gathered in an orange grove. One of the first paintings to note is how little the viewpoint is being used, whereas the bushes to the left and right provide environmental perspective. We do not really see one point linear perspective of view that certain early Renaissance artists used so successfully in the 15th century. Also notice how the extremities of the majority of the figures are long and thin, giving them an exquisite appearance. We have this thing in the art world where artists measure when they're drawing. Most people are 6 heads high, I believe. And for supermodels, drawing, fashion design, one of my students was interested in fashion design. Usually those figures in art are elongated to 7 or 8 heads high, so they look giving them more of an exquisite appearance. Two, I wanted to note in this piece is the sheerness of the angels, and really look at the beauty of their fabric and how it lays over the form and really just defines the figures. And then the little gold angel hovering up above. So now we've done a lot of Mona Lisa talk with my Mona Lisa Mondays. I would like to know how you guys like that, if you like it or if not. Let me know so I know to keep doing it or not. So we know that the Mona Lisa was done by Da Vinci. We started out the semester by someone throwing soup on her on the painting. This portrait is of a female clothed in the Florentine manner and seated in a dreamlike mountainous scene. And this is an outstanding example of Leonardo's sfumato style. That being said, sfumato style is soft, highly shaded, and modeled. The Mona Lisa's enigmatic look, which appears both enticing and distant, has earned the image worldwide acclaim. The portrait was among the first to depict the sitter in front of a fictitious landscape, and Leonardo da Vinci was among the first artists to use aerial perspective. The artist's overall harmony, particularly the sitter's small grin, conveys the concept of a connection linking people and nature. The Ambassadors by Hans Holbein the Younger. Holbein, the greatest portrait artist of his day, spent a significant quantity of time in Henry VIII's court. The Ambassadors depicts the French ambassador to England, Jean de Dentonville, and his colleague Georges de Selve, who they were both in their late 20s, and the artwork is strewn with allegorical elements such as a lute with broken strings, which might represent Henry VIII split with Rome in order to divorce Catherine of Aragon and pursue his lover Anne Boleyn. Judith Slaying Holofernes by Gentileschi. She is one of my favorite artists. As Judith, oops, sorry about that. Oh man, I can't go back in the recording. Crap. You guys have to look up Gentileschi. Her work is amazing. And I cannot believe this is one of my favorite paintings. Shit. Sorry. Okay, so we'll go on to the next. This is by Rembrandt. He also is one of my favorite. Let me go back since I can't see the slide. Gentileschi did the beheading of John, and it's very gruesome and graphic. So look that up. Artisma Gentileschi. I can't remember her first name because I don't have my notes in front of me. But anyway, look her up. It's an amazing slide. Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee by Rembrandt. His name is Rembrandt van Rijn, but everyone calls him Rembrandt. I'll try not to hit my back button again. So Rembrandt's most spectacular narrative artwork in America is also his only seascape. Rembrandt did a lot of portrait paintings, self-portraits in particular. This seascape was created in 1633, shortly after Rembrandt arrived in Amsterdam from his home, Leiden. And at the time when he was proving himself as a city's preeminent portrait and historical subject painter. This comprehensive representation of the scene, the different attitudes of the characters, the reasonably refined brushwork, and the vivid colors are all hallmarks of Rembrandt's early style. The Night Watch by Rembrandt in 1642. Looks like I don't have any notes on that one. Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johann Vermeer is one of my favorites. Also done 1665. This artwork has attracted so many individuals throughout history, attracting record numbers to the Art Museum in The Hague, where it is presently kept. It became legendary because of the girl's peculiar pose, her mysterious look, the colors, and the exquisite quality of light. Although it looks to be portraiture, this piece is really a tronie, Tronie, a painting of an imagined individual depicting a specific kind of character. Also, what's interesting is Vermeer's Girl with the Pearl Earring has been redone in today's contemporary art world, where an African American woman is painted in the same clothing, but she has like I don't know if it's teak wood or bamboo, some sort of wood that's in Africa where they make jewelry out of. So it is bringing the African American artist into artwork as master copies, but it's giving a cultural reference by changing the earring, which I think is very fascinating. Death of Marat by Jacques Louis David. This is awesome. I had also one of my, which I wish I had an image of it, one of my African American students put himself in this painting. He did a master copy, but he put himself in this painting with the iPad instead of a handwritten note. It's an iPad with the iPad pencil, coming out of in the painting. By 1793, the Revolutionary War's violence had escalated to a point where beheadings at Paris Place de la Concorde had become a regular occurrence, prompting a certain Dr. Joseph Guillotine to devise a device that would increase the efficiency of the axe and thus make killings more humane. David was there in the middle of it. He had joined the Jacobins early in the Revolution, a political organization that would eventually become the most zealous of the different rebel fractions. Ophelia by Millais. Ophelia is regarded as one of the major classics of the pre-Raphaelite period. Millais created a striking and unforgettable image by combining his interest in Shakespearean topics with keen attention to natural detail. His choice of this scene in Hamlet, where Ophelia, driven insane by Hamlet's death of her father, submerges herself, was rare for the time. Millais, on the other hand, was able to demonstrate both his technical ability and aesthetic vision. We've also had people, contemporary work, you could look this up, they've also reinvented it, where they're in a milk bath. So some pretty interesting things with these artists that recreate the masterpieces. A Whistler's Mother. This is regarded as one of the most famous art paintings. It was said that Whistler's model was unable to commit to the task, and it was at this period that James chose to execute a picture of his mother. Before the production of this iconic artwork, there was a great deal of testing. James Whistler requested his mother to model for him while standing up, but she found it too difficult. Thus, she's sitting in the chair. I love the just the simplicity of her gown and the beautiful painting of her hairpiece, and then this to break up the composition. If you cover that up, the painting would, if you take your thumb and kind of squint one eye and cover that painting up on the wall, you see how if you take that out of the composition, it becomes kind of boring. The Gross Clinic by Eakins. Thomas Eakins' strong attachment to his birthplace became a recruiting topic throughout his career. The Gross Clinic is a painting produced in 1875 that features local physician Samuel David Gross and is perhaps one of the most well-known and grandiose effort for the city of Philadelphia. The scenario features Gross supervising a surgical procedure and teaching to a group of medical students, referencing Rembrandt's art historical predecessor, The Anatomy Lesson of Dr. Tulp. You guys should look that up if you find this interesting. I thought that being a medical illustrator would be this, that you go into surgery and you have your easel and you paint, but it's not that way at all. Medical illustrators nowadays, they go in surgery with their notes and they draw little notes to themselves. Some of them are not legible for us. And then they go back to their desk and they look through medical books and get reference pictures, and that is how a lot of the medical illustration is done nowadays. They say that Da Vinci would get cadavers and take them into his studio and kind of dissect them so he could know the anatomy and the Vitruvian Man, that kind of stuff, the musculature, all of that. So I think that that's pretty interesting. Okay, now we get into Renoir. Let me see. Moulin de la Gaillet. I don't know how to speak French. Sorry, guys, but it's in the garden, I believe. Let's see. It is translated to mean dance at Le Moulin de la Gaillet. This famous artwork is a contemporary art masterpiece that is one of the most renowned Impressionist paintings and a stunning example of Renoir's knack for capturing dappled light. That is, Impressionistic painting is all about dappled light, painting light. Its modernity stems from both its selected matter, a typical Sunday afternoon picture of working class Parisians at leisure at the Moulin de la Gaillet, and its free impressionistic style brushwork. The main thing about painting is we look through the years. how the brushwork changes. The brushwork is very, starts out with the beginning painters, and it's very little brushwork, and the art is blended beautifully, picture perfect. You look at the brushwork of Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa, and you compare it to the Renoir's brushwork, you start to see the movement in the paintings. So you go from Renaissance to I don't know all of them. There's a great artstory.com, and it's a great, I'll put that in your notes. It is a great timeline for all art historical movements, and you can find the timeline. And two, you can see that Impressionism by 1876, you look at how the brushwork has changed, and now they're short brush strokes where they are painting light. The viewer's gaze wanders around the motion-filled surface, aware of the bold, highly colored brush strokes, yet unable to focus on any one shape in particular. So with these impressionistic paintings, what's wonderful is the further back you get from the painting, the more realistic it looks. And if you really zoom up in on a certain area of the painting, or if you're face to face with the painting, you walk up closer and you see that it is just little patches of color that make up this beautiful work of art. Okay, John Singer Sargent, one of my favorites. This is Virginia Guteau. She was a wealthy businessman's wife, and she was regarded as a professional beauty, an English word for persons who advance socially by using their interpersonal skills and attractiveness. The picture was a proposal by Sargent to depict the young socialite rather than a commission. It's good marketing for himself. This is a Sunday afternoon on the island of Le Grand Jatte by Georges Seurat. We just call him Seurat. Seurat was able to catch a fascinating picture of our aristocratic Parisian life in the 19th century, despite its remote position. The image prompted a slew of interpretations, and he was chastised for being too technical. However, upon its debut, it was hailed as a great work of precise proportions. Seurat's painting technique varied significantly from that of his high school, and after quitting it, he opted to journey to the island of Le Grand Jatte. What Seurat was known for, we were talking about brushwork, is Seurat stippled this. So stippling just means getting paper or paint and doing stippled dots, pointillism. So instead of painting green, he would mix blue and yellow, put blue and yellow dots to get a green color. So that is what Seurat was well known for. He didn't complete that many paintings. He died at a fairly young age. Vincent van Gogh. I'm sure you guys have heard of Van Gogh. We're at 1888 now. This vibrant outdoor view painting is a stunning work of art depicting the viewpoint of a carefree observer who enjoys the pleasures of his environment without moral concern. It echoes Van Gogh's sentiment that the night is more vibrant and vividly colored than the day, as he put it. The color is brighter and the attention is pulled to the steep edges of neighboring sections, which form irregular patterns that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. The eyes are challenged by the long-term partition of this region into a large item of backdrop theme. The distant and close areas are both treated very differently. We all know The Starry Night. I hope you know The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It's a night sky swirling with vivid blue spirals, a dazzling golden crescent moon, and constellations depicted as radiating spheres dominate the oil on canvas artwork. One or two flame-like cypress trees loom over the scene to the side, their black limbs curving and undulating to the motion of the partly obscured sky. A structured settlement lies in the distance in the bottom right of the canvas among all of this activity. The modest houses in the thin spire of the church, which stands for a beacon against undulating blue hills, are made out of straight, controlled lines. So going back to the brushwork, look at how different that is from the Mona Lisa that you know so well to Degas, the Impressionism that we saw, are just short strokes of color. And Van Gogh's brushwork is amazing, and his paint is thick too. So that is the beauty of painting throughout the ages and how it's changed. So this last week, I'm going to try to get in some sculpture and also some modern paintings and modern artwork for you guys. So Van Gogh, they said, he was crazy, right? And he was in a institution for a while. But he wrote his brother Theo. He and his brother wrote letters back and forth. And it's really, really wonderful. They're in books, and I have the whole book set. So it's very, very interesting and emotional to read a lot of the thoughts he was thinking. Okay, so this one is kind of a different, let's see, no, this is not the one I was thinking. I was thinking it was a drawing. Despite his own dire financial condition, Van Gogh had always supported the work of his friends, particularly Bernard and Gauguin. His brother Theo, who we just spoke about, got a little sum of money in the summer of 1888, a portion of which went for Van Gogh's ongoing care. Theo recommended Gauguin stay with Van Gogh in order to save the two painters' expenditures by sharing their lodging. I've heard stories about Gauguin and Van Gogh living close to one another and working together, and it didn't sound like it went too well. You guys can look that up if you want some art scoop. Gauguin, remember I told you, he's the one that left his wife and moved to Tahiti and ended up marrying like a 16-year-old girl and painted the Tahitian women. So he's kind of an asshole. Okay, so the next slide is The Scream by Edvard Munch. The Scream, comparable only to the Mona Lisa, may just be about the most famous human image in the Western art history. Its ambiguous, skull-shaped head, extended hands, huge eyes, flaring nostrils, and oval mouth have been ingrained in our shared cultural awareness. The whirling blue environment, particularly the blazing orange and yellow sky, has spawned a slew of interpretations about this scenario represented. At the Moulin Rouge by Toulouse-Lautrec. Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec has been connected with the Moulin Rouge from its inception in 1889, when the famed nightclub's proprietor purchased the artist's equestrian for the entrance. Toulouse-Lautrec was inhabited. At the Moulin Rouge, he was joined by his cousin, Dr. Gabriel Tapier Duxellarian, who was holding photographs of the famed nightclub's regulars, including himself, the little figure in the middle background. I'm not sure if that's him or not. Look at, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but what I love is with Toulouse-Lautrec, the colors he puts into his faces. The one on the right, you see the highlights. You can see like the light shining under, like light here. So she has light and then shadow on her forehead. Toulouse-Lautrec did a lot of the Moulin Rouge of the dancers, and he actually painted very large, and he was very short-statured man. I don't know if he was a little person or if he was just really short, but I find fascinating that his work was huge and he was of small stature. I'm not familiar with this name. Let's see if I am the painting. Ooh, no, but it is beautiful. Flaming June is an excellent illustration of Leighton's talent. As seen by realism of numerous components in this image, one can nearly reach out and touch the draped material. Then there are the marbled textures and brilliant colors that catch your eye in the background. This picture was recently lent to the Leighton House of Museum in London, which linked it with its history. It has made many trips throughout the United Kingdom before arriving in Puerto Rico. I also love the foreshortening of the figure, and foreshortening of the figure meaning how her leg is coming out at you and her head is going back into space. That is an illusion for painters because it's very hard to make that seem a three-dimensional illusion on a flat white canvas. Okay, so here we're talking The Tahitian Women by Gauguin. Regardless of the fact that Tahiti is depicted as the faultless paradise, this picture challenges the observer with two topless ladies in a similar and traditional fashion that compares women's bosoms to fruits or blossoms. Gauguin's painting was one of the last pieces in Tahiti. In this picture, he emphasized the tranquil and beautiful qualities of Tahiti's native ladies. Gauguin, even though I'm not much of a fan of his character, he was a wonderful painter. This is not one of my favorite pieces of his. Some of his other pieces have the black outline of the figure a lot more noticeable. So if you like this style of painting, you might want to look at some of his other work. The Kiss by Gustav Klimt. This is done in oils and gold leaf. This painting, The Kiss, displays an affectionate couple kneeling in a flowery meadow. The male, dressed in geometrically patterned robe and wearing a vine crown on his head, clutches the lady's face as he moves in to kiss her. The female figure has flowers in her hair and wears a colorful, naturally patterned outfit that contrasts with her partner's. Her eyes are contentedly closed as she puts her arms around his shoulder, enhancing the scene's tranquility and closeness. A lot of textures going on in this painting, a lot of different brushwork, a lot of different, so you can look at it yourself and see how it differs from the other paintings that we have seen. The Cyclops by Rodin. Galatea is seen sleeping on the lower right, her bare figure melting into the floral hill slope. The shoulders of Polyphemus rise over a mountain range in the top part of the image as he turns his one eye toward the direction of the Naiad. Polyphemus seemed to have concealed himself from the sprite behind the rocky landscape, too afraid to address her helpless figure directly. Once again, notice brushwork. American Gothic by Grant Wood. You all know this one. The image portrays a middle-aged couple, commonly understood as a farmer and his wife or daughter, posing in front of their residence, a wooden farm constructed in the Carpenter Gothic architectural style, popular in the 1890s. Because the people are so close to the observer, little of the backdrop is visible. The artist had based the farmstead on Dibble House, a home he saw in Eldon, Iowa, and outfitted his sister Nan and his dentist Dr. Byron McKibbe as the figures for the couple. The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. Dali is getting into surrealism. It's just a movement that they're painting realistic things in a very like imaginative, dreamy sort of way. The Persistence of Memory, which is the name of this work, has a self-portrait with a soft watch draped over it. These soft watches depict what Dali referred to as the commemorate of time, implying that the idea of time had lost any value in the subconscious world. The ants swarming over the pocket watch implied decoy, which is nonsensical given that the timepiece is metallic. These paranoid, critical visuals represent Dali's interpretation and assimilation of the Freudian theory of the unconscious and its availability to the dormant wishes of the psychosis of the human psyche, such as the subconscious fear of dying alluded to in this artwork. The Flower Carrier by Diego Rivera. Diego Rivera was a very famous, the most famous Mexican painter. A peasant in white attire with yellow sombrero struggles on all fours with a ridiculously enormous basket of flowers attached to his shoulder with a yellow strap and the vibrant artwork. A lady, most likely the farmer's spouse, stands behind him attempting to assist with the basket's support as he strives to climb to his feet. Some say that the massive basket slung to the man's back represents the burdens of an unskilled worker in a contemporary capitalistic environment. Diego Rivera was very political, and he also married Frida Kahlo, a female Mexican painter, so they had a beautiful love story, although she had a terrible life because she had problem with her spine and she lived a lot of her life in bed. A very interesting story. But bringing it back to the painting, look at this brushwork and Diego Rivera, like the entire composition is filled with movement and things. All the leaves, all the flowers in the basket, the texture of the basket, and so it's kind of nice to have a juxtaposition of the white outfit of the one carrying the basket and the non-textured female figure's clothing. Guernica by Pablo Picasso, which we've touched on a little earlier in the semester. Some consider Pablo Picasso's masterwork of the Spanish Civil Battle to be the single finest war artwork of all history. Picasso's artwork, in addition to being a huge allegorical picture of the horrors of war, may have purposely molded spectators into proactive participants, promoting both collective change and policy choices. Picasso hoped that by doing so, he would be able to impact changes in the government policy and expand the dialogue beyond the confines of his war-torn country. Picasso did a number of works, and they're so wonderful. Everything he did was just like gold. He always said you have to make 500 mistakes before you finally get something right. So he constantly was painting. Okay, so here is The Two Fridas by Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo, whom I mentioned just a couple slides back, who was married to Diego Rivera. Several scholars believe that the two characters in this picture symbolize Frida's blended background. Guillermo Kahlo, her father, was German, and Matilda Caldron, her mother, was Mexican. Another explanation is that the Tijuana Frida was cherished by her husband Diego Rivera, whilst European Frida was spurned by him. Let's see, who is this next? Oh, Jackson Pollock. I guess we're getting close to the end here because Pollock is very modern. This piece was constructed on an 8x4 piece of wood of fiberboard. Jackson Pollock's approach for this piece was the utilization of liquid paints. He opted to abandon the traditional method of painting on canvas. The title of this is Number 5, can be seen with a lot of brown and yellow paint splattered over it. Pollock was motivated to make this painting by his personal feelings. Okay. He departed from the customary use of liquid paints. The painting's pattern seems nest-like and elicited a variety of feelings among individuals who saw it. So you think about the time that this painting came out, you have to look at not, oh my, I could do that, or you've got to look back at the time that it was painted and all of the brushwork, how it had changed. Let's see, sorry, my watch is going crazy, but the brushwork of how it had changed. And this actually is abstract expressionism, and abstract expressionism is actually the movement that got America known for its art. Everything had been over in Europe, and so when Jackson Pollock and Rauschenberg and all of these abstract expressionists started working from their feelings instead of doing portraiture, altar work, that's when these European painters are like, hey, maybe they're up to something. So that is the beauty of art. You have to look at it in its time frame. You don't look at it in today's context, Okay, Rene Magritte. Stay with me. We only have one slide left. Rene Magritte. He is a surrealist painter. This is Harry Tortschneider, Magritte's close friend, counselor, and patron, commissioned a self-portrait of the artist in 1963. So we are 1963. We're really getting on up there, or closer to where we are now. However, letters published by Magritte show that he struggled to create his own portrait. Magritte referred to his troubles as a conscious problem. When Magritte completed his self-portrait, the resultant image was of an unknown gentleman wearing a bowler hat and captioned, quote, "The Son of Man." It looks like a simple drawing at first glance, yet it is immensely puzzling.